All right, everybody. So this is another Donnelly video. For this one, he's talking about how he's just gonna stop therapy. It's not really becoming much of a use for him. There's not really the right therapist that's for him, and the hard part is the very difficult part is he's 49, I believe. He's gonna be 50 next year, and I've I've followed this guy's channel for a while. I mean, like over 10 years so far. We've known each other. And I have to say, I mean, he's gone through a lot. He is he has for sure gone through so much, and I really do wish for him the best, that he can find peace within himself and get more caught up with his life. But anyways, enough with me talking. Let's go into the video.
Therapy, in my experience, has it worked? No. So going forward, I have pretty much officially given up on therapy. Now, there are three things as to why therapy is potentially something that fails a lot of people. And I'm going to name three key points. The first one being it's a business. Therapy
Yeah.
just seems to be nothing more than a business. I mean, after all, it's expensive. It can be anywhere from $100 upwards of $300 to $400 per session.
Sadly, sometimes even more than that.
Sessions ranging anywhere from 50 minutes on up to an hour and a half. So yeah, in the end, it all comes down to a business. It's all about making money and so forth. The next
Yeah.
component is experience. Obviously, depending on what someone is suffering from, it's difficult to find a therapist that specializes in niche areas, whether it's social interaction, PTSD, traumatic childhood, relationship difficulties, issues with maybe certain types of personality disorders or certain types of anxieties. I mean, you've got different kinds of anxieties out there, OCD, and so forth. So that's just another big challenge is finding someone that's got expertise that can specifically help and you utilize a modality that's going to potentially be helpful. And of course, probably the biggest one, the third component is I honestly feel like a therapist has to have been at least in someone's shoes in some form
Yeah.
or another. So let me
That's
give you
it.
an example.
That's that. There's a lot of the therapists here, they don't really know what it's like. They don't really know what it's like to go through childhood trauma or grow up in a grow up in a bad household, or just going into your adult life. Just still dealing with struggles. That's one of the main things why therapy doesn't work. It's for the most part. All right, before I say this, I just want to say I'm not trying to dissuade people or say that therapy is bad or whatnot, but for the most part, these are just my thoughts. All right, so like with therapy, they they're just telling you what you already know. They're just telling you what you already know, and even giving you drugs or medication to pretty much what just to deal with the pain. For me, I'm not the kind of person who believes in doing that, but I just it that that's why I don't like doing therapy either. It's just it's just not helpful. I think Todd I think I remember Todd saying this on one of his videos. He said that there's really no therapist for autistic men, or pretty much men that have like some serious mental health issues. There's really no therapist for that. And the reason is because, like, this is just what I think. Like, people are just don't have patience, right? Especially normies. They don't have patience to sit down or just listen to somebody, just listen to somebody's issues or help them, because we're all living in a fast-paced world. And if you're considered slow, you are not doing you don't have what you're supposed to have by a certain age. Like, let's say, for example, you didn't finish high school, you didn't get your driver's license, or you just don't have you just don't you never dated, you're going into your 30s, 40s, even 50s, not having done one, two, or all of these things. Then the sad part is people look down on you. you know it's a sad thing to deal with. But yeah.
A good therapist is someone who themselves, if they're treating someone, let's say, They experience bullying, body dysmorphic disorder. Let's see what else they may suffer from. Anxiety. Well, it probably
Yeah.
helps if the therapist themselves is someone that grew up being bullied and bullied into their later years, also had issues with
Yeah, they're not gonna
feeling
get
like
it
they're like
for the
ugly
most
or
for
body dysmorphic issues.
they're
So in
mainly
other
not
words,
gonna get
it's
it.
being able to have empathy because you yourself have been in a similar situation. And I think that's the biggest component as to why oftentimes I feel like therapy fails is the therapist often doesn't know. They may be like, oh, that's so bad. I'm so sorry to hear that. Oh, I
Yeah.
understand how you must feel. That's probably one of the worst things you can say is, oh, I understand how you can feel. Because truly,
You
you can
don't
never
yeah,
understand how someone
see?
feels because everyone's situation is different. Everyone's resiliency level is different. So you have two people, they experience the same traumatic event, but they have different upbringings. Of course, their reaction to the event is going to be different. Even if you have people that experience the same adverse event, the same upbringing, well, they're still going to probably have different reactions. I mean, hence the combination of both genetic and environmental factors. And of course, the other factor I wanted to mention.
Yeah, that's absolute ignorance. Well, I understand how that feels. Just be positive and just be happy. That's pretty much the main thing. It's really sad to say that. I mean, they don't really know what's going on. Like I said, they're just giving you what you already know. I mean, it's just people don't have people just don't have the patience or energy to even deal. Oh, okay, it's mainly patience. They don't have the patience to sit down and deal with that. Sad to say.
Mention is now I kind of slipped my mind as to why therapy doesn't really work. But oh yes, a fourth component you could say is you can't therapy your way out of certain situations. So
Yeah,
for instance, if someone is feeling like they're super unattractive, well, if they have certain facial features that they're unhappy with, really the only way you can truly fix that is through means of modification, whether it's through some kind of surgery or voice alteration or whatever it may be. Or if someone's feeling like, oh, I'm not a good enough student. I feel like I'm just a failure. All my teachers tell me I fail. Well, I don't think you can really therapy your way out of that. Really, what you
yeah,
probably need is a way to have someone that's going to encourage you, that's going to be willing to tutor you, that can show you how, like, okay, this is how you work on math, this is how you work on your English. So that way you can actually work on improving that skill. So that way you're not having teachers tell you you're a failure and so forth. So there are certain things that I personally believe that you can't therapy your way out of. No matter how hard you try, if someone feels like they're not good enough, I mean, therapy may help a little bit, but in order for that person to feel good enough, they're going to have to meet a certain criteria that they've set for themselves. And that's the hardest part is that criteria. And what makes a person set a certain criteria could be their upbringing. It could be who they hung out with in their childhood or throughout their lifetime. So really, their mental health is such a complex thing that it's no wonder why that many people often have difficulty finding the right therapist or they
yeah.
just simply give up. It's because
They
it's like after so many
yeah. It's a game of chance. Finding the right therapist who's compatible with you, it's a game of chance. It's almost like playing the lottery. If you end up finding the right one, then whoop de doo, you found the right one to help you. It's a similar thing with friends too, or and relationships. If you find the right group of friends who will help develop you, especially at an earlier age, you're gonna end up going into your 30s, 40s, like just having that successful life. But without those, of course, you're pretty much rowing your boat in the middle of nowhere without a flashlight and in the fog and no map or that's pretty much what it is.
years or several months or after several therapists and not having really any results, there does come a point where you have to give up. And so that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like, so
Yeah.
now I'm having to explore other options. And unfortunately, these other options are quite expensive. Ketamine therapy, for one. There's also a super long waiting list, and that would probably take a few years. But to go down to Oregon and see someone who actually uses medicinal mushrooms for therapy,
Medicinal
and
mushroom.
from what I've read, it's super
Eh.
expensive as well. So it's like not only is it like a 3 or 4 year waiting list, but it's also like a couple grand per therapy session. I'm sure there's
Damn.
other outlets out there. I've heard some more
Especially
extreme
that's a
measures of like
3 year wait.
like
What?
electroconvulsion therapy. I'm not exactly sure that's what it's called, but yes, there are other modalities out there, but they're super expensive and they're hard to get
Yeah.
approval for. So,
Yeah,
and then of course you've
you
got ayahuasca, but then again, that can be expensive. You got to come up with airfare to go to these retreats and then partake in the ceremony. So really, as far as like therapy goes, I'm pretty much at my wit's end. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do from here on
man.
out, but it's gonna definitely be an uphill struggle till obviously you guys know that I just got to get myself in a position that I'm content with, whether it's bookkeeping or payroll clerk, that I can at least help me pay my way to seek out some of these more kind of nature modalities or kind of like these more obscure modalities or whatever you want to call these. But that's where I'm at right now, guys. So, yes, as for traditional therapy, I have given up.
Yeah, it's unfortunate though. But if that's the right move he's got to do that. I mean, it's just there's just hardly any good therapists or just people out there nowadays, especially nowadays post 2020. You know, like we're living in a fast-paced environment, and people just don't know how to take some time to help others out. It's just, it is the sad thing. And I do wish Donnelly the best for himself. um I know money has been tight for him. I'm not sure how much of those student loans he still has, but I mean, hopefully he'll be able to find something. Again, I have not kept up with Donnelly's channel, but I think the last video or live stream I saw, he was washing dishes. So really, really rough, especially when you've come from a, you went to university to get your master's in exercise science, and then just end up like that, and you're already nearing 50. Oh boy, it's just it's a long, I mean, I'm not trying to make his situation grim or what. I mean, I really do wish that society came together and helped someone like Donnelly out, but it's just unfortunate. It's just unfortunate that they have to they have to get left out in the cold. But anyways, guys, oh yeah, and then one more thing. Anybody wants to cut this video out, I'm done reacting, but there's one thing that I want to share first. Yes, I did, real quick, I did do therapy, like, when I was, what was it? Yeah, I did do some therapy back in college when I was still studying, and also, like, like even 5 6 years ago or something, like around that time before the pandemic happened. I used to do some therapy, but and then the one the one thing, like, I was explaining to my therapist that, oh yeah, I'm going through these anxiety, just having typical anxiety, especially going into work, dealing with all that stuff. And then he's like, so why are you dealing with this and then I'm like, huh? you know it was like he didn't really understand the basics of what an introvert, or just the basics of an introvert, or somebody who goes through some kind of anxiety. It's like, you call yourself a therapist? Come on, dude, really? It was just, it was just, it wasn't, it not only wasn't helpful, but it was like, that was a backfire. That made me upset, irritated and upset. I was like, you know what, there's 15 minutes left, I think I'll go, just keep the money, bye, thank you. That's it. And it's that's all it was. And yeah, and then I mean, basically, my therapist is pretty much who I talk, the friends that I talk to, like the few friends that that I still have, that I talk to. That's my real therapy. And then for Donnelly, I know he talks about not having friends. I mean, his main therapist is YouTube. I do feel like YouTube is probably one of the best therapies to have, because you get to talk to people, relate to people, all that. But yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys, for watching this, and the link is in the description down below.